Hello and welcome to another video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout. It's team news time. We are looking ahead to the Gameweek 34 deadline. It's a double game week. As ever, I'm joined by Fantasy Football Scout editor Neale to recap over all of the managers' press conferences today to see if we can get any good lineup news and of course those developments around injuries as well. Neale, how are you?
Not too bad, Joe. Yeah, the last three game week this season. So it's been a bit of a quick turnaround, but we've heard from pretty much everyone, I think, ahead of a game week 34, with the exception of Arsenal and Chelsea, who are playing next Tuesday.
But
we'll round up what we know.
But we do have some updates from them, which is whatever the latest we've got, but we'll come to that in a sec. Before we move on, I think I forgot to introduce myself. My name's Joe. I've done that in a couple of videos here. I just assume people know me, but obviously you don't. I mean, that's rather big-headed of me to think that. So I'm called Joe. Welcome to those joining us in the live chat as well. FPL Gaza, Kyle, Haz, Graham, FPL Bighead, Tony, FPL Rank Chaser, Jan, Big Tips, Jack, Broken Shit, and many more. Thanks so much for joining us early in the video. Okay, we're going to just crack on because we've got a full complement of fixtures. Unlike last week where we had blank fixture, we could witter on for a bit and fill up some time. No time for that. Let's move on. Let's move on to the Saturday fixtures. Crystal Palace take on West Ham. What has Roy Hodgson been saying about this, and in particular about one of his possibly returning stars?
Yeah, the talisman, the penalty missing talisman, Wilfred Zaha is back in the squad. He's been in training this week, so he's going to be involved this weekend. Joachim Andersen's fine as well. He came off in game week 33, but he's been past fit. So that just leaves Nathaniel Klein. We haven't had a word on him. Again, he was expected back in training this week. So the only person red flagged, surprise, surprise, is Nathan Ferguson, who is out for the season. I think since last we spoke, Joe, on the team news video, he's been ruled out for the rest of 22-23. So that might be it, because I think he's out of contract at the end of the season, so he might not be a thing next year.
I mean, what a tale of woe.
I feel really bad for him. I mean, I'm sure he's well compensated wage-wise, but it must be hard going, getting so close to being fit again and then succumbing to something else.
Well, he's been such a star of these team news without actually kicking a ball or moving. But I really hope that he does well. Whichever club, if he stays at Palace or whatever club he goes to, it'd be fantastic if we could do a team news thing. Nathan Ferguson's fit and coming on again after his brace the previous week, that kind of thing. So good luck to him. Move on to West Ham, who they're playing. David Moyes he's not as much as cagey. There's not much updates from him. Is that the same case this week?
Yeah, exactly the same. So Scamac is the only person who's flagged. He's the only definite absentee for this. The usual knocks that Moyes reports are in every single press conference, but he says he hopes that everyone's going to be fine.
Okay, let's move on. Brentford against Nottingham Forest. So we're going through a lot of these teams don't have double game weeks, and we're just a reminder to people we can't give the team updates for the second games as part of this double game week yet because their first games haven't been played yet, so we just don't know. So Brentford against Nottingham Forest. It looks like a great fixture if you've got some Brentford assets, particularly Tony. But who is fit for Brentford for this?
I think it's the same players who were out of Gameweek 33. So Norgard, who was very important actually in the middle of midfield, and Strakosha, who's the backup goalkeeper. They're both out still. Christopher Aguirre was part of the B team last night. He's back fit anyway from that calf problem. Played for an hour for the B team, but he isn't going to be ready for this weekend.
Okay, and Nottingham Forest, I mean, dare we trust anything that's said from the managers there?
Yeah, there's definitely at least two of those ambiguous updates in this one. Nico Williams is definitely out. He I think he broke his jaw, fractured his jaw or something on Wednesday night. So he's out for the season now. So that's him, McKenna, Wood, Henderson, Bolly, Bianconi and Richards are the ones who are definitely out. We can say that. As for the rest of them, they're definitely in a disputed territory area, I think, in terms of Cooper's team news updates. Near Carty, he's going to be assessed. He complained of hamstring discomfort and walked off very early on against Brighton. And this is a sort of classic Cooper update. It says it's inconclusive. We're going to have to see tomorrow. And we're not sure. So he's leaving it open both ways. The striker Taiwo Awani, he's took a bang on his shoulder, according to Cooper, but I think that's probably all right. And then there's 3 players who are either yellow or orange flag. That's Yates, Colback, and Scarpa, because they're sort of shorter term problems. We think they are, and we've not had any updates on that 3. But as recently as I think it was Tuesday when he had his last press conference, he said no one was going to return.
Okay.
But as we know, that can mean absolutely nothing.
That means they're all in the squad. Okay, so let's move on. This is getting more like it now. Brighton against Wolves. Now I'm keen to get Evan Ferguson in, but should I hold fire on that as a make weight for a Salah move there? What is he fit?
Well, yeah. Even if he is, he might not be risked, which is exactly the words that De Zerbi used in his press conference today. He was pretty much going to come back for this one. I think De Zerbi's previous press conference on Monday he said we're not going to risk him for game week 33, but we've got 8 more fixtures. Today he says we might not risk him for this weekend. We've got 7 more fixtures, so he's going to keep doing this.
Okay.
So uncertainty about him. Of course, they've got the second double game week fixture to come next week. Veltman is going to be able to play. He's been on the bench, I think, twice.
Okay.
In the last week at Wembley, and then in game week 33. And we've still got Lamptey, Sarmiento, Lallana, and Moda out. Now, with De Zerbi saying that Lallana, who had been cited in training recently, we thought he might be nearing a return, says he's not even going to be sure to be playing again this season. So 2 bits of good news there, possibly for McAllister owners, because if Lallana's out, then that's your positional rival for the number 10 shirt, your senior positional rival. And then B, if Veltman's back starting, then Gross goes back to centre midfield, and then McAllister gets pushed further forward into his number 10 slot. And of course, you've got other players who can play there, like Enciso and his fellow countryman, is it Buena not here? He was there last week. But
he's out, I think he's 18. And the new Messi, apparently. Could well be. You never know.
The new McAllister, I've seen him.
The new McAllister. They're all the new Messi.
Right now, already thinking about the potential McAllister sale by getting in a McAllister replacement. Apparently, he can't play, you know more than me, Joe, but can play as a 10, but also a 6 and an 8, and on the right wing as well. So, but hopefully that's 2 bits of good news for McAllister owner.
That is, I'm a McAllister owner. There's a few in the chat as well. Big Tips is saying McAllister back in the 10. He seems quite pleased about that. I think he's a very good chance of that now, which is what you want to hear, because he's actually been putting up some good stats, underlying stats during his time, even from playing deep. Let's not forget Wolves though. Their opponents. What shape are they in for this?
They're in pretty good shape. Yeah, this was the only press conference held during the day yesterday, but there was nothing really to report. Just 2 long-term absentees. That's Chiquinho and Kalajic, who are both out, and nothing else. No new fitness concerns.
Okay, well, let's skip over that then. Bournemouth Leeds, which is going to be another pretty dead fixture for a lot of people focusing on the double game week. But nevertheless, I would imagine Solanke could be in a few teams. Because it's a good fixture. Bournemouth against Leeds. Let's go with Bournemouth first. There are some injuries there, though, aren't there?
Yeah, and not just injuries as well, but fatigue and cramp. So Tavernier is the fresh concern from Thursday. He came off with, I think, hamstring discomfort. Seems to have been bothering him for a while. So I wouldn't be surprised if he misses out. As I said, their tiredness is a factor. Of course, they'll have to go again less than 72 hours after beating Southampton. And Gary O'Neill was saying that. He said Sinisi and Vina in particular, too badly affected, I think. Jack Stevens is back. He was ineligible to play against Southampton on Thursday, which just leaves the 3 who are already flagged, and that's Frederick, Stanislas and Traore.
Okay. Meanwhile, Leeds, they're in trouble, with relegation concerns very, very real there. How are they geared up for this?
Well, we've got actually some tangible team news from Gracier for once. So he's ruled out Sinistera for the rest of the season. So he's damaged ankle ligaments in that Leicester game, and he's not going to be playing again this season. So Adams and Dallas are still on the sidelines. Max Wober, he was absent in midweek, and he hasn't trained since, according to Gracier. So a late call on him. And as we've discussed before, I think he makes a bit of a difference, that Leeds backline, when he's playing. So could be even more of a good fixture for Bournemouth than if he was available.
Okay, another day of a double game week fixture here. Manchester City, they travel to Fulham. Let's go with Man City first, because this is what we're all interested in, particularly with Kevin De Bruyne. Now, there was an issue with him being subbed off a bit early during the week. What shape are City in for this?
Yeah, that substitution was prompted by niggles in De Bruyne's leg. That was the words that Guardiola used, and it was on De Bruyne's request that he came off. Seems to be all right today, although I was talking to Luke about this on Twitter. So Pepper said this afternoon that everyone except Nathan Ake is fit. So that's enough for De Bruyne's flag to come off. Of course, niggles might not fall under an injury. If you're Pep, you might be thinking in terms of actual, like muscle problems, like torn hamstrings and broken legs. So there is a bit of a grey area there where he could still be declaring everyone fit, but then not risking some players this weekend.
Okay.
So yeah, the flags come off him for that reason. On Ake, he's still out. He's not training with the team yet, but not going to be much longer, according to Pep.
Rightio. And Fulham, meanwhile, there were quite a few injuries there, and obviously, just mention this something I do know. Mitrovic is still suspended. That's going to end soon, two or three game weeks time. But for now, he's in match 6 of 8. I understand of his ban.
Yep. Yes, he's red flagged. I think he's the only one who's red flagged from Fulham. Although Willian is a doubt. I think he had a hamstring problem on Tuesday, and that caused him to pull out of the squad to face Villa. Harry Wilson should be fine, however. It was just an illness that forced him off, so he should be all right.
Okay, rightio. There's now another double game week side here. Manchester United, first of their fixtures, they take on Villa. But there's been some movement there. There's been quite a few injuries recently. Bruno Fernandes was injured. We saw him in his leg brace. His wife took a picture of him in his leg brace, eating his Weetabix on the sofa. And hey presto, he was fit and ready, got an assist, and pretty much player of the match. So yeah, that wasn't him 100%. So what else is going on at Manchester United?
There's a lot of flags, but it's all pretty low key in terms of FPL. So Varane, Martinez, McTominay, Heaton, Van der Beek, they're all still out. Maguire's going to be assessed after he missed out last night as well. Garnacho's back in training today, but all pretty low key, C-listers in terms of FPL. Fernandes was praised by Ten Hag in the only real quote of note, and he was just complimenting him on his determination to get back from that ankle knock, saying he's tough, and he hopes other players in the team can learn from it.
Okay, play with broken ankle. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. And Aston Villa, how are they looking? Same as we were.
Exactly the same. Yeah, same 4 players are out. Closer to return, so possibly some of them back next week. So yeah, that's Cash, Coutinho, Bailey, and Kamara, potentially for game week 35.
Okay, Newcastle take on Southampton. If people are going to field some single game week players, probably going to be for a Newcastle player like Trippier, or maybe one of their strikers if they want to take a chance. It was Wilson's turn midweek. Isak or Wilson could play. I mean, let's start with that really. I mean, Newcastle, your side. Who's going to start? Isak or Wilson?
I think Isak. Isak. I think Howe sort of backed the question away. He said, "I'm going to have to study Southampton a bit more, and then decide who plays." And to be fair, he did justify the selections of Wilson, I think, against West Ham in particular, because of his strong record, and he has a strong record against Everton as well, which is why he played last night. But I still think the primary motivation for that was just a 3-game week, which was the case against West Ham. There's 3 games to juggle. He wants to keep his forwards happy, because Wilson is I think second choice now behind Isak. But with this being again less than 72 hours, and Wilson lasted almost a full game, then I think Isak comes back in for this one. We'll probably have a similar problem in game week 36 when Newcastle double again, but we'll leave that for another day. Injury wise, it's just the same. So Emil Kraft's still out, and St Maximum's still out as well. He's not going to be fit this weekend. It could be for the following week, but I wasn't sure, so that might drag on. There was a line from Howe on rotation, because we saw Isak, Murphy, and Dan Burn drop out. I think Burn was slightly ill as well. But he says, if I've got a choice between 2 players, I'm always going to pick the more fit and fresher option. So that's something that will drag on for the rest of the season.
Okay. For Southampton as well, Ward-Prowse came off earlier in the week during the match. Is he all right now?
We're not sure, because Ruben Sellers was 4 managers to do the Game Week 34 press conference last night, and then the quotes were embargoed until today, and they have been released now. There was a line from Sellers on Ward-Prowse. He said he He'd had a sore throat. He was recovering well, and then he ran out of energy in that Bournemouth game. And I think, came off at half time, I believe.
Okay.
He thinks he will be okay. This was from last night, but the doctors need to look for him. But given Ward-Prowse's, longevity, and he's a bit like Fernandez, he never misses a game. I expect him to be fine. Perrault also came out for that match with an ankle problem. He's a doubt. Salisu, I think, still out. Larios is still out. Liveramento's back injury free, but he's been playing with the under 23s. Bella Kotchap was an absentee last night as well. He will be fit for Sunday, according to Sellers, but last night he couldn't perform. Which, we've all been there, haven't we?
Well, it happens to us all. Let's move on to Liverpool against Tottenham. Big news at Liverpool. Who's going to be performing there?
Well, we think Jota should be fine, and so does Klopp. He said in his press conference today that he should recover from a bad knock to the back that he took against West Ham.
Okay.
That was reported at the time, and he did come off after 59 minutes, but that knock to the back did happen very early on in the game. And he lasted, I think, until the hour mark. So he's now flagged as a result of that. The exact quote was, Diogo has got a bad knock in his back, but should be all right. We will see how that developed.
So, Liverpool have options.
They do. And Jota is the only attacker out of the front three who's started all 6 games since the international break. So he's due. He's due a rest if it does work like that.
Right, yeah.
And injury-wise elsewhere, I don't think there's anything new. Canate should be back. He was just rested against West Ham. Keita's back in full training today, but obviously short of match sharpness. I think I just leave Ramsey, Bajcetic, and Firmino on the injury list. There was a quote from Klopp about his settled team because he's only made one change in the last 4 game weeks, and that was Canate's rest.
Yeah.
He's mentioning, there's a long quote on the team news roundup on the site. I'd advise you to go there because it is long.
Yeah.
But he said, again, reiterating that the ticket into this team is always going to be readiness and defending and counter pressing. Maybe that's a slight side swipe at Darwin, but I would expect changes at some point over the next week.
Right, yeah. What about so within defence? Say the fullbacks are going to be popular. Alexander-Arnold, Robertson. No suggestion or hints there that there'll be any rotation there.
Nothing for this weekend. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a change or two on. Is it Wednesday? They're playing Fulham. Is that right? I think that's right, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then because they've got a Sunday, Wednesday, and Saturday turnaround. Now they've had a pretty generous turnarounds in the past month. That's why there hasn't been too many changes. But I do think when there's a Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday stretch, I think Klopp is more inclined to rotate at that point. And I do think that Wednesday game, especially, there will be changes.
Okay. Okay, that's that puts the fear of God into me. Someone who wants to invest in Liverpool. What about Spurs? Lloris came off. Was he actually injured when he played your lot and shipped all those goals?
Yeah, there was a thought that he was Stellini was saving face with Lloris and just sparing him the ignominy of more goals conceded. But he has apparently got a muscle injury.
Oh, okay.
Didn't play against United last night, and he's not going to be fit for Sunday's game against Liverpool, so he's still out. As are Bentancur, Bissouma, and Emerson Royale and Sessegnon. But apart from that, I think everything's fine.
Okay, just a useful reminder in the live chat as well. Do press that like button. Only about 50 or 60 likes, but more than 10 times that many people in there. So that either means you don't like us or you just forgot to press the button. I hope it's the latter. So do press that button. Do press that like button. Okay, let's move on to Leicester against Everton. Not going to be much interest FPL wise this week in them, but nevertheless, there might be some of these players knocking around in people's teams. But big news at Leicester for their attackers, isn't there?
Yep, Iheanacho is going to be out possibly for the rest of this season. So Smith didn't quite rule him out, but he says it's going to be difficult to get back. He's got a groin tear, so out for a number of weeks was the prognosis. So he joins Vestergaard, Pereira and James Justin on the sidelines. Johnny Evans should return to training today. He's had a virus followed on from a calf injury, so back in training, but obviously not guaranteed to be match fit.
Okay, and Everton, once again, there was a few injuries there. Mason Holgate was suspended as well, but he should be back. What else is going on at Everton for this?
Yeah, one of a number of standing right backs who've flopped since Coleman got injured. But the good news is that Coleman should be back. He's been in training this week. Wasn't played last night against Newcastle, but they're playing on Monday night, so that gives them an extra few days. So he could be back for this one. I think that only leaves Vinagre and Townsend out. Dyche confirmed that Calvert-Lewin and Garner-Gay were taken off just to rest them last night because they've obviously been out for a while and injury prone, certainly in Calvert-Lewin's case, but nothing to suggest there's anything fresh in terms of injuries there.
Okay, we can move on to... it's the last game. Arsenal against Chelsea. We're rattling through this. So now this, I understand we're going to have a sort of a mock-up, really, of what their team uses, because we don't have an up-to-date latest from them yet.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a game that got moved from, I think, Saturday night to Tuesday on the advice of the Met Police. And with that being the case, the press conferences are probably going to take place on Monday. I don't know for sure, but they're certainly not today. There's a slim chance it could be tomorrow, but I suspect it'll be Monday. So in the absence of any press conferences from Arteta and Lampard, for Arsenal, we know that Elneny and Tomiyasu, and we think very likely Saliba as well. Arteta said ahead of that Man City game that the Chelsea game would probably come too soon for Saliba. We're not aware of anything fresh from that Man City game, but of course, you can't say it for certain. Chelsea, a bit more to report, yeah. So James and Mount, we already knew were ruled out for the season, so same with Brozier. Cucurella, we found out, I think, in the aftermath of the Brentford game that he was out for a few weeks as well with a quad problem. Good news for Chilwell, I suppose. Koulibaly is still recovering from a hamstring problem. Again, he could be back. We're not 100%. I think he'd be the only one of that 5 who's got a chance, because I think he was ruled out for a few weeks ago. But the one person who should return is Kai Havertz. So he was out with a knee problem and was expected to return to training this week. And of course, it being a Tuesday game, that gives him a lot of time to recover.
Okay, right. Let's have a look at the roundup of all of that. And apologies if I've missed anyone out. But fit to play, we've got Wilson at Fulham being given the okay. Kevin De Bruyne was slightly questionable, but I think the flag's been removed now because he's... everyone seems fit there. Veltman as well. I think De Zerbi's the phrase was, "I think he'll play," but he seems to be fit. He's been on the bench. He's been sitting on the bench the last couple of times. He is integral to Brighton's play. So Veltman, Zaha back in training, ready to go. So we could be seeing him in the Palace lineup. And Harry Maguire is back, but whether he will start or not. I mean, they've got to. Well, they did ship some goals midweek, but they've got a better looking defence. No offence to Maguire, but they've got a better defence without him, to be honest. So I don't know whether he'll be there. Jota is between fit to play and questionable, really. He's got that back issue. Oini at Nottingham Forest could be playing. Might not be. Might never play again. Who knows? Because we can't trust anything they say there. But he's got an injury. Tavernier with his hamstrings, questionable. Willian's injury may rule him out. Coleman is back, but questionable whether he'll actually return to the lineup. Havertz, he should be back. We think he's back in training. We're not quite sure yet. Garnacho is back in training. Whether he'll start or not, whether he'll play, remains to be seen, but so questionable there. And Ward-Prowse, he's had that illness problem, but he should be over that. Major doubt. Well, Ake's more sort of major doubt to out. He should really be in the out column, but he's you never know. He could make an appearance, but he should be out. Evan Ferguson as well. We thought he may return, even if on the bench, but it doesn't look like he will at Brighton. Definitely out. Firmino, we didn't mention Firmino actually in Liverpool. I assume he's still out with his muscle injury.
I covered him very briefly. Yeah, he's still out. Yeah. I think the reason he may be 25% flagged, and if you see 25% flagged this week when someone's been ruled out, it's because they're double probably, and there's a chance they come back for the second fixture.
Okay.
So that might be the case. I think it might be the case with Ake as well. I'll let you continue with your...
Yeah, that's fine. Nico Williams has got his jaw problem, fractured jaw. How awful. Iheanacho, he's got that injury, could be out for the season. Sinistera, ankle problem, going to keep him out. Lloris's muscle industry from... I don't know how he got it, certainly not in his hands trying to catch balls, but he certainly did injure those. St. Maximin got hamstring issues, going to keep him out. Cucurella is out for a few weeks with thigh problem. Bailey is amongst a number of Villa players still out. Saliba, we think, his back problem will prevent him coming back. And Mitrovic still suspended, number 6 of 8. So he will remain in that column for a couple more weeks yet. I think we've got everything there. Okay. I think we've delivered the team news I hope people want to hear. There's a few questionable things there. But okay, I think it's time to go. Thanks so much for your time, Neale. Good luck with the double game week, and we'll see you next week. Take care.
My pleasure. Bye-bye, everybody.